Oh, for the love.
Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it?
You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved. From the middle after dark over here.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 59 of From the Middle. We are three middle-class guys living in the middle of America in the middle chapters of our lives with a point of view that's somewhere in the middle. If you are just joining us for the first time, we are a podcast about those things I just mentioned and the fact that we're dads and geeks and musicians, and some of us are musicians, and we talk about life and geek culture things and things that we're into, and what else? Does that cover it?
Yeah, things.
Food, sports, Lego.
Hold on just a second. I'm thirsty!
Mom!
There! Watch this. Thank you. Hey, you want to grab my empties? Thanks. Huh?
Your mom brings you beverages?
Yeah, my mom totally brings me beers.
That's awesome.
And dooskies.
Well, hey, guys, thank you. Thanks for joining us. We're excited to be together once again and to be with all of you, our loyal listeners that we fondly refer to as middlers. So even if this is your first time, you're now a middler. Thank you for joining us.
No takesies backsies either.
No takesies backsies. Once you're here, you're here.
Yep.
And you better watch 100% of this video or listen to 100% of this podcast, or else.
Yeah. Or else. You better not cry.
Better not.
Telling you why.
It's only July. But
Listen.
here we are.
Huh?
Nothing. Anyways.
It's Christmas all every day in my heart.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Just ask my wife.
That's
She
very
loves
nice.
it. Yeah.
We are excited to tackle a list of voice messages from our aforementioned middlers, our loyal listeners. We have a nice little stack to get to. But before we do that, we thought we would just do a quick round of updates. And we do that from time to time, almost every time, to just let you guys know what's new in our worlds, what we're experiencing, anything that we've come across pop culture or media-wise that we find interesting that we think you might enjoy. So what's up, fellas? Any news? What's the hot dish?
Well, I'm
What's the tea?
sure
Spill the tea.
I'm sure some of you know at this point the catastrophic news that Taco Bell is getting rid of a bunch of items from their menu. I'm devastated. But I want to thank a loyal listener, Jill, who made sure to message me a list of what they were getting rid of so I could get out ahead of it. And make sure that I was able to use up all the remaining supplies of the items that will be going away.
What are they? Wait, what are they getting rid of, and why?
I feel like the list isn't that grande, if you will.
Well, it's a Nachos Bel Grande, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a bunch. I was most sad about the potatoes going away, the loaded grillers,
Oh yeah,
the 7-layer burrito, Nacho Supreme. There's a bunch of stuff on there.
dollar menu people. Yeah, that means your spicy potato soft taco is gone. A big thing, one for me is my single favorite my single favorite permanent menu item of theirs is the quesarito.
Mm.
And that's on the Nick's
on the
list,
list.
kind of.
Yeah.
Apparently, they like what they say is that it's no longer going to be on the menu, except it will be available via the app and online ordering. And I'm wondering, like, why? Why would you take it off your menu then? Like, are the words going to actually come out of someone's mouth if I walk into a Taco Bell and ask for a quesarito, is an employee going to tell me, "Oh, I'm sorry, you have to order that through the app"? Like, is that going to happen? Like, what? I don't understand the point there.
I mean, some stuff has been off the menu for a long time, but you can still walk up and order it, right? Like secret menu, the cheesy gordita crunch was off menu forever, but you could still order it. They got rid of the double decker taco. I could still tell them what I want to order to have them technically make it, even though it's like not there. But I think this is just a paring down because of probably like nobody eating inside anymore and them only getting drive-through business. Paring down temporarily would be my guess, but I don't know.
Like a quesarito's too difficult to make, takes too long.
I don't know.
Maybe
it's probably a combination of like items with thin margins or that require more like ingredients or more expensive ingredients or things that they just don't sell as many of. I don't know. It was sad, but thank you, Jill, for messaging me and letting me know what was going away. I do appreciate it. Big news. I don't want to linger on it too long. I'll get emotional, but if you guys have any other thoughts, we can certainly talk about it.
I am really excited about one of the new items, and it might just be a seasonal thing, the pineapple whip. Have you had that yet?
Yeah, super good.
That's very good.
Whip?
Their seasonal slushies are banging. You need to go try them. Anytime there's a new one, they're always good.
I've never had one. I've always gotten the Baja Blast.
It tastes very close to a Dole Whip that you get at Disney. It's close. It's not as good. It's not as magical, but it's very, very good.
Yeah, they've had watermelon. If the caramel apple comes back, you got to get that. You remember those green suckers like with the caramel in them that you would eat? The caramel apple one tastes just like one of those suckers. Like you for sure got to try some of those. They're real good.
That would be good. Because I like the flavor of those suckers, but they're super annoying to eat, so I don't.
Right. So go try that. It's back
if I could drink one, that'd be much better.
It would be so good. So that's an update for sure.
Big.
Second one, this is kind of a big deal for nerds across the whole world. We unite around Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con. I've never been, but San Diego hosts traditionally the largest convention. Now, if you've never been to one, and I haven't like this, but if you've never been to one, it's really far beyond just comics at this point. It's essentially all things nerd / geek culture. So video games, superheroes, cartoons, not even just like comic cartoons, but like all cartoons. It's literally anything sci-fi, space, adventure, whatever. So Comic-Con is doing this year's convention as Comic-Con at home. If you're listening to this episode on the day that it comes out or watching it on YouTube, that would be July 22nd, which is a Wednesday, which is the day that it starts. I think 3 p.m. are the first sessions. And they're going to do all kinds of stuff you can stream for free. I believe on YouTube is hosting all the video content. So if that's something you're into and you happen to be listening to this early enough to jump into it, check it out. I think we're all going to check it out, or at least what we can. It's Wednesday through Sunday. And if there's anything really cool about it or noteworthy, I'm sure we'll talk about it on the next episode of the podcast. But I was kind of excited because I've always wanted to go to something like that. And I've never gotten the chance to. And I'm not the costume type. Like, I just go as myself. But I still think it'd be fun to kind of just walk around and take in all the sights and vendors and celebrities are always there signing and autographing and doing photos if you're into that kind of thing. So I don't know if you guys have ever wanted to go or been or whatever. But
two things. You said you're not the costume type. What I think that means is you've not invested or taken the time to make or buy a costume. But if you had one, you would definitely walk around in said costume. If you had Stormtrooper armor right now, are you telling me you wouldn't that was custom fit, you wouldn't walk around in it?
I don't know if I'd wear it in San Diego in July.
Dude, that's what's perfect about San Diego is that like San Diego just does not get oppressively hot.
Well, then maybe. I don't know.
I've been in San Diego in July. Actually, I've been in San Diego the week after Comic-Con and stayed like it was. So I've been in the convention center, just not during Comic-Con. Okay. And first of all, the convention center is the single largest building I think I've ever been in. It's massive. and the hotel, the infrastructure around it was big enough to handle like both Comic-Con and like this other big international conference that my wife was a part of, and like didn't have a problem getting a room. Like it was that area is just like built for that convention center. It seems. But yeah, no, it's big, and I did see a lot of crazy people in the hallways of the Hyatt on the day that I checked into the hotel.
Sure.
So they were on their way out while I was on my way in. What's that?
Did you see a best costume on your way out?
I saw a costume that I'm glad my kids weren't there. So I'll put it that way.
That's fair.
But no, I've never been to Comic-Con. I'm not. I think I wouldn't seek it out. I wouldn't be one to like fly to San Diego and spend that kind of cash to go to it. But like if there was something comparable to it, that I was in town somewhere else, like Dragon Con or something that was going on, I would totally probably go check it out.
Yeah.
Totally probably. That's what I said there.
We went to Star Wars Celebration 3 in Indianapolis before that movie came out. That's a good example of like, yeah, that's close enough. Yeah,
sure.
I'd go to that.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun though, and that was just all things Star Wars. So I can see what you're saying. If they moved it 1 year just because, and it was in like Chicago or Indianapolis, and other people were already going, they're like, "Hey, I got a ticket for you."
Especially if I were part of a podcast that a bunch of nerds listen to, I would probably I'd go.
Yeah, fair.
For sure then. Yeah.
The content alone, just imagine.
I kind of want to hear like after next week's episode when we're talking about our online virtual experience of Comic-Con. I would like to hear from somebody. I don't know if I know anybody who's been to Comic-Con in San Diego. I would like to hear from somebody who has. And just like personally have that discussion of the difference. Like what's it? So like,
yeah,
how real did this seem? Did the virtual thing seem?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're giving them a week. So if any listeners have been to a real San Diego Comic-Con and want to message us, email us, voicemail us, or hop on next week, let us know.
Yeah. Be a guest.
Yeah.
I always appreciate when they do stream, even from like the Star Wars celebrations and if you don't know, Celebration is the name of the convention for Star Wars each year. But I always appreciate when they stream from those or, do like even E3, the big electronics and gaming one, they'll stream things from that or big releases. Those are always fun to be a part of. Have I told the Kansas City convention story on here before?
I don't think so.
Okay, so I was in Kansas City for work. I was right downtown, and I can't remember what hotel I was staying at, but right across the street was the Midwest's largest convention, and it was like second or third to San Diego. And the guest list was notable. I mean, there were pretty well-known people there from geek culture things, movies, TV, whatever. And the whole week, I mean, I've told you guys what my schedule's like when I'm on these work trips. It's like 12, 15-hour days. There's not much free time. The whole week, I'm looking across the square. It's right over there. I'm looking longingly across the square like, oh, I so desperately want to go over there. So it was the last day of my work obligations, and we wrapped up. We always wrap up with like a celebratory dinner at the end of the gig. And I walk into the lobby, and Jeremy Bulloch is at the bar, who played Boba Fett in the original trilogy.
Oh man, yeah.
You wouldn't know that because he wears a mask the whole time, but geeks know that, right? And he's just sitting there with his wife at the bar. And I'm like, oh man, that's Jeremy Bulloch. That's Boba Fett. That's my favorite Star Wars character. I can't go over and talk to him. I'm going to talk to him. So I pulled up a chair next to him and I said, hey, I'm really sorry. Just wanted to say hello. Big fan, blah, blah, blah. And we had like a 10 or 15 minute chat. It was amazing. One of my work colleagues was in an Uber where you share an Uber, and he gets out and the door was open long enough that a bunch of people on the street were like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And my colleague was like, what's the big, he was in an Uber with Barbara Eden, who played Jeannie in I Dream of Jeannie, and didn't even know.
way. That's fun.
So I kind of love that you could just bump into these people while you're at these things, and the culture around it is fun. And if you're a geek, there's nobody judging you because everybody else there are geeks too. And it's a safe space to let your freak flag fly. So anyway, I'd love to hear from somebody who's been to San Diego, SDCC, and or any other big conventions, and any stories you may have. That's fun.
I always like when you'll find out after the event's over, a celebrity is there for a couple days to appear for one specific, what's the word? Not event, but speaking
keynote or whatever.
One specific session that they're talking for. And they'll have walked around and gotten photos in their own costume for like a day or two. And then they'll come out on stage, or then they'll show pictures of them in the costume. And then people are realizing after the fact, oh my gosh, I just thought this was somebody in a really great costume. And turns out I was standing beside, whoever, Hayden Christensen, for a photo and chatting with him. So I always like some of those stories that kind of eke out after the weekend's over that you're like, that's pretty cool.
The most notable example of that is my recent obsession, Adam Savage from Mythbusters, who
I was just about to mention him. Yeah.
He always builds like movie quality, to the detail, amazing costumes. He loves cosplay. And he'll go to San Diego's the biggest one he goes to. And he goes dressed in his suit. You can almost never tell who it is. But people have learned, like, if it's movie quality, it's probably Adam walking around and whatever he's doing. He's done some amazingly elaborate suits that not only does he show you how he built it and the level of detail and research that he's gone through to make it, but then they usually follow him around on the day. And it's really cool because usually people will shake his hand or whatever and go, I know it's you, Adam. Like, hey, Adam, like whatever. And it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I discovered a new YouTube channel, and there's a little story around it, but I've gone deep, you guys. And this is kind of a cool, crazy, interesting story of my connection to this YouTuber and this new channel. So I'll get tagged on Facebook every once in a while. Well, when someone has posted something like, hey, do you know any artists or designers or illustrators? I've got an idea for a fill in the blank. And very kindly, one of my friends has tagged me and said, oh, you should reach out to Corey Hubble or Hubble Arts or whatever, right? So I get a lot of contacts this way. About, I don't know, a year or so ago, that had happened. A friend of mine had put me in touch with this guy. We'll call him Steve for the purposes of the story. And Steve, when I ended up finally talking to him on the phone, had an apparel company. He had an outdoor adventure, father, son, family sharing experiences outdoors, YouTube channel. He made some lures. He was also starting a media production house that all of these videos and adventures, and he thought about doing graphic novels and comic books and all of this stuff, like a big dreamer, lots of ideas, and really a nice guy to talk to. We ended up speaking on the phone for a combined couple hours of all these things that he wanted to do, and in the ways that Hubble Arts, my freelance business, may or may not be a part of them, right? So I put some quotes together for different things that he had mentioned, and long story short, we never ended up making anything happen, but nice enough guy, really enjoyed my time with him on the phone, loved his energy and enthusiasm and passion around what he was doing, the outdoor stuff, the adventure stuff, whatever. So I get a notification last week, and I haven't talked to him since, by the way. So I get a notification last week that Steve has invited me to like this page, Lifeline, Life Space Line. And in one sense, I was like, oh, what's he doing now? Because I know he had a couple irons in the fire, and what's this new thing that he's doing? So I go to the Facebook page and subsequently the YouTube channel, and because of some situations with his work, because of what's going on with coronavirus and the economy, he's gone through some pretty rough circumstances and is now homeless. And he's started filming his situation starting hours before he left eviction court, where he was evicted from his apartment, and he started documenting the entire journey. His first night, day one, he sleeps on a park bench, like downtown. He tells a story of how he managed to cram all of his possessions into one storage unit with a buddy, but now he's literally living on the street. Separate from all of this, Steve has been researching for years what you would have to do a through hike of the Appalachian Trail. If you don't know anything about the Appalachian Trail or through hiking, you can hike that trail. It starts in Georgia. You can go all the way up into Maine. That's usually the direction people go, south to north. It takes about 6 months. And there's a whole subculture around exactly how much money you need to do it, good places to stop. Like there are YouTube channels and so he's been interested in doing that anyway. And because of his experience with multiple YouTube channels and loving the outdoors, he's just taken this whole positive spin on it and is kind of shooting it like a outdoor product unboxing and review page meets Alone on the History Channel, meets a very raw and vulnerable documentary about now being homeless and the circumstances that led to that situation. And he's just very raw, and I'm hooked. I'm watching the videos constantly. There's like 50 of them. He's on day 25 now of living in a hammock. And the reason he's chosen a hammock, he's going to these picnic areas, right? He's not going to camping areas. He's going to picnic areas. And it would be too obvious to put a big tent in the middle of a picnic area. But you could justify that some picnickers just put a hammock up for the day. But here's the crazy thing. He has a second shift job. So he goes into work in the afternoon, gets off work at 3 a.m. He has to break camp to go into work, gets off work at 3 a.m., rides his bike to the picnic area, sets up camp, is in bed by 4:30 a.m., and starts the whole thing over. And he's breaking camp and setting up camp every night.
Yeah.
So there's this other layer of it that's kind of like feels a bit undergroundy, like, and I even texted him and I said, cause he asked like, hey, thanks for the support. Really appreciate you reaching out. Like, what is it about the page that you like so much? And I just said what I just told you guys. You're being very vulnerable. You're being very open. Being homeless is a situation that not many of us have any experience with, but none of us are too far removed or a couple bad decisions or circumstances away from being homeless ourselves. So it's something that could be very real for anybody. And you're being I also like the outdoorsy side of it. And I even told him, I'm like, I'm kind of waiting on you to get caught. Like it feels like this kind of underground kind of thing. And so anyway, yeah, crazy. But I'm hooked. Like I can't stop watching his videos. I just love the content that he puts out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's I don't know the name of the guy. I wish I did so I could plug him, but there's a Canadian who has like a camping channel on YouTube that's kind of similar. Now he's not homeless, but he's big into stealth camping. And so he'll camp like in the back of his SUV. I've seen him do like U-Haul camps. He'll rent a U-Haul and camp in a U-Haul, and he's doing it in like he's doing in like neighborhoods. One time he did it right next to a police station. One time he did it in an airport parking lot. Like, but then he does like real camping too. And sometimes his videos are normal. Like he paid for an overnight camping site and that sort of thing. But a lot of what he does are just kind of like on dares from YouTubers. Like,
try this.
Like, when we get these in the north, where you have freeways that are like the north and southbound lanes are separated by this big like 300-foot wide forest median kind of thing. He camped in the median one time. He's camped at like a little patch of woods that were off of a day only rest stop. He's camped in places that you're not supposed to be there overnight. He does that regularly, kind of for those, he's kind of making a point that he feels like they should be open to camping.
Yeah.
And so he'll go in and just camp, but it's very stealthy, and he's using just a hammock so he doesn't get caught.
Yeah.
When he does these and that sort of thing. And so that feeling of like, man, I'm waiting for you to get caught. Like that's why I'm watching still.
Yeah.
It's because I'm waiting for you to get caught. But obviously I don't want you. Like, I like you. I don't want you to get caught. But man, I'm waiting for it to happen.
Yeah.
It's that weird thing. So I share whatever that is.
Yeah. I even texted him and I just said, hey, I had no idea, I just saw your invite to the page. I had no idea any of this was going on since we last talked. And I just want to let you know, like, as much as I can, like, I support you. Like, I'm a big fan of what you're doing and how vulnerable you're being. And like, it's just a crazy adventure that you're on. And I'm following the journey, man. And I just said much love from Ohio, and just know that you've got a buddy praying for you. You guys, his next video, he titled Support from Afar. And he mentioned that text, and he freaking cried in the video when mentioning my text to him, because it meant so much that somebody, and I don't say that, at all, whatever, just that it meant so much that somebody cared about his situation and reached out and just said, hey, I'll throw a care package or whatever. Because not once has he asked for a dime. Not once has he asked for anything. And I said, hey man, like, weird question. I said, I don't want you at all to feel like I'm, I don't know, like exploiting you or anything, but I have a podcast. And he goes, stop right there. I listen to From the Middle. And I was like, wait, what? You've been listening? He's like, yeah, I recommend it to people all the time. And I said, so I would love to just say, hey, like, check out his page. And he's like, yeah, whatever support helps. Like, every little bit helps. That's why I'm putting these things on YouTube, whether they're interested in, camping product reviews or just the story of one guy's downfall, for lack of a better term, and the steps that led to it, or just some kind of underground camping and picnic areas in Wisconsin. Like, I'm happy to let you share. So anyway, let me just pull up his page. Dylan, any thoughts that you have on any of that?
It's super interesting. I mean, what both of you have mentioned, the stealth camping and then this guy's story. And I'm definitely going to have to check out these videos now, because from both of you, I'm super intrigued. But I can appreciate.
Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it starts here with day one, the beginning, and that's his first night sleeping on a park bench in the middle of downtown. And I just finished, I guess I'm on the first episode of day 25. But yeah, he's like unboxing some new products he got, and it's just so interesting. And he's such a sweet guy. So codename Steve, shout out to you, man. Wish you all the best, and hope everything turns around, but love what you're doing until then. So
weird,
for what it's worth.
Super interesting.
Yeah. Anyway,
there's something about that super vulnerable documentary that doesn't feel staged, we're just trying to capture what's happening. And it's not really the same, but I had mentioned on one of the first probably 5 episodes, the Long Way Around and Long Way Down documentary. Yeah. And while it's technically 2 celebrities that are taking this trip, they're literally setting up a camp in the middle of Mongolia on like a desert floor, and that's where they're camping, and that's where they're roughing it. And so, there's something about that that's just super vulnerable. They're like, here we are, or they're stuck at some, country crossing in somewhere in between Europe and Russia. And, and then they're stuck at a border for 12 hours and just sitting at a border, and, you see gas all over their, smoke all over their face and clothes, because they're just sitting with cars driving by. It's just wild stuff.
Yeah.
And so, there's a certain sort of raw element to that it's just fascinating. and especially if Steve is putting it out there for people to see what it's like, then that's exactly what it's for, to tune in and check it out. So yeah, for sure. We'll post the link from the social channels too, so people can find it and subscribe. And
if any of that even sounds remotely interesting to you, please go give him a like and a subscribe. And again, he's not asked for it once, but I do have a PayPal account that if you feel so inclined and would want to do that, you're more than welcome. You can get in touch with us and we'll get that to you, as well as a physical address if you wanted to send a care package or something. So, yeah. So anyway,
that's cool.
Voice messages. Let's get into some voice messages from the Middlers. The first one comes from our dear friend and king of the Middlers, Jeremy Kester, in reference to episode number 52, where we were talking about the concept of paying it forward in a drive-through line.
Hey, boys. Jeremy here. Sorry to get so far behind talking about quarantine and Starbucks. I want somebody to really genuinely convince me that the blessing level of buying someone's daily $5 coffee, bean water, is somehow going to greatly affect their life. Dude, seriously, I'm loving on you guys. But at the same time, I'm just like thinking about the people who are at Starbucks daily, who how much of a circle back massage it is to take people that spend $100 a month on coffee during a work day and bless them with coffee. Bro, go to McDonald's and pay for the people who their bill is $2.19 and they're counting it out. What the heck? It's like going to the Mercedes dealership and covering the next oil change. What the heck, man?
Yeah, if we really wanted to do something kind and pay it forward, that's where like people put together those like bread, peanut butter, jelly, a knife, socks,
for Steve,
wipes. You put a bag together and you go find somebody on the street and hand it to them and say, "Here's some food and socks." Yeah, I get it.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the way the circle back massage thing. That's all. That's all I'm gonna say. That was thinking on your feet, Kester.
This is another one from Kester from the same episode. Again, episode number 52. Title of this voice message is "You're the Worst."
I'm cracking up. Kendall, I'm going to call you out, and I know you'll have a great defense, and you'll probably be right. But what I heard was I don't want to pay for creator content, and I don't feel guilty because name crime that's worse. So I don't feel guilty. It's not like I'm ripping off MP3s. It's not like I'm robbing old ladies at this store. And then as I'm deciding if this is notable enough to send you a message, you all begin to talk about the fastest way to not pay for created content. So $5 for bean water, good to go. I can't let this thing go with the Starbucks. $5 for bean water, good to go. A 200-person cast and crew to produce a movie or a series, a whole series, an entire television series. Too much. That's where we draw the line. Oh, I can't stand you guys.
I love how he ended that voice message with, "I can't stand you guys."
Yeah.
Do you remember, Kendall? Do you remember what he's talking about?
Oh yeah. So I was talking about how, like on YouTube, I've never gone past the paywall on anything. So I've never paid for any YouTube content, and I've never ventured into anyone's Patreon or anything of that nature. I'm not stealing anything. Like that was my point. Like this, like there is no worse crime. There's zero crime. Like that's the big difference between watching what's freely available on YouTube and downloading copywritten material for your own use and distribution. But no, like that. I mean, so the YouTubers, the big thing that they want are likes and shares and but the most important thing is they want eyeballs, right? And so I give them that, right? That's what they want. They get ad revenue, man. So I'm contributing to that in a weird little way that makes me feel better about myself. So,
But he can't get over that Starbucks thing.
but the Starbucks thing, I love the Starbucks thing. But then but then he goes into this rant of like cast and crew for these big giant movies, and then I start thinking, yeah, but your Starbucks thing is like, man, why are we worried about helping out the people who can help themselves? And I'm thinking, well, I mean, movie makers. I'm much less worried about them.
Right.
I'm more worried about the YouTuber.
Right.
But anyway, but I don't know. I like the whole thing. Kester, I would listen to your podcast. You need to do it. You've got a Bill Burr quality to you that I enjoy.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I never had that connection. That's true. They can rant, and it's entertaining.
Indeed. I could listen to Kester talk all day in a loud, mean voice. I would love that.
That's awesome. Here's another one from Kester. Kendall, you were talking about
he had a big morning one day.
He had a big morning one day. He did a lot of catch up and sent us a lot of voice messages, and we appreciate it. We're not playing all of them, mind you. We're just playing. we're just playing the ones we understood. But Kendall, you had shared a story about a beautiful moment that you had shared with your sweet daughter.
Yes, indeed.
Where you guys farted together.
We did.
Yeah, and so that's about this voice message is about that.
Hey guys, I was listening to Corey talk about his toot continuity with his offspring. I might have already told this story if I did delete it, but when I was young, I was in like maybe 4th, 5th grade. I went to a friend's house and had an older sister. It was there. We're all sitting at the table, and somebody had pooped in the pool that day. And she just made this offhanded remark that girls don't do that. And I thought she meant girls don't poop. I didn't realize she meant like girls aren't gross like that. But I thought she meant girls don't poop. So I spent like 2 very confused years of my life. I mean, 2 years, like I'm talking like 5th grade, like it was pretty late. I'm pretty sure that girls actually don't poop, that was a uniquely boy thing. I never really put like a lot of time into it, but that's where I landed on the subject. Kind of messed me up. So anyway, that's all.
You know, they make a book about that.
Man,
about who poops and who doesn't.
I can just imagine his sweet little bearded face in 3rd to 5th grade thinking that girls don't actually poop.
I got nothing to say to that. The best part is how long that thought continued on, just tumbled along in his head. It was by far the best part.
And sad that there was no one he could ask for clarification.
I know.
You know?
It's like that thing from that quote from Parks and Rec. Like, it's been a really long time, and now I'm too scared to ask. Like,
Yes.
it's that.
Exactly that. Okay, so we have a few more from Jeremy, and then you'll discover that there are other people who actually like us and send in voice messages.
I'm not even sure. Jeremy very clearly told us he does not like us.
I hate you guys.
Dylan, that was a very astute observation, pet peeve about people recommending shows after hearing literally one sentence. What show should I watch? They feel like they have enough information to make a strong recommendation. I have to be honest with you. This isn't probably going to go over super great, as this is my custom, but I feel the same way when people say the phrase "we should hang out." I feel like neither of us really know enough yet to know for sure that we should hang out. We have like one introductory "where are you from" conversation that doesn't go poorly, and then inevitably someone whips out the "oh, we should hang out sometime." I'm thinking, no, you don't know enough. Like I don't know that I'm going to enjoy this yet. Just ask a couple more questions. So we should hang out, and what show should I watch? I think people are using the same decision metric.
Yeah, that was episode 53 where Dylan had said what Jeremy just said, which is that people said any good TV show recommendations or any good movie recommendations. And then people will ask no questions like, what other things are you into? I don't want to steal your thing, Dylan, but like, you're like, how do you make such a blanket recommendation?
It's like when social media was new and we had nothing else to compare ourselves to other people with other than the list of things that they liked on social media. So you'd look at like their list of TV shows that they liked and list of movies. Maybe this was somebody that was a friend or maybe somebody you were interested in, and you were going purely off of like music, movies, TV shows, and books. Like those were the categories they could like. And you're like, oh, well, they really like these shows, but they don't like it. It's like you know nothing about these people. And you're like, people will ask on social media, hey, at least if they give you some information, you might be lucky in some of these threads if they say, hey, I just finished Downton Abbey and I just finished The Crown. Are there any more shows like these two that I might watch next? That is a perfectly acceptable question without needing much follow-up. Like you could just say, great, you might like these other types of shows. But people will...
You're still going to have people on social media that you can say exactly what you just said, and then they're going to be like, oh, I've been really, really into Space Force.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, it would be different if, as an example, if Corey posted and somebody that I knew Corey knew really well, like you, Kendall, commented below, I know that you probably know Corey well enough to be able to recommend a show. And I wouldn't think much of that. But you have whole threads where people are just chiming in. And by the way, they'll chime in with shows that are wildly different. Like, check out Pretty Little Liars and Alien. You're going to love both of them. It's like, I don't know. Yeah. So that was my whole point. It's just amusing watching that unfold. And I rarely jump into them because I just go, ugh, I'm going to get lost. And the second thing really there that sounds a little pretentious is there's also the quality and intelligence of the person that's recommending the things, right? So some people might have a little more weight behind their recommendation than others based on my relationship or my understanding of the type of person that they are. And so not all opinions are created equal in the sense that, like, again, one person might throw out two things that are wildly unrelated, which would be a bad recommendation. That comment should have less weight to it, and there should be more weight to somebody who maybe asks some follow-up questions.
That's at the discretion of the original poster, though. They know
it is.
They know that.
Of course it is. But if there's like, if I'm trying to be thoughtful and there's already 40 comments under somebody asking that question, I'm not even going to try.
No, you're already buried.
My thoughtful recommendation is going to be buried among other, and they're not even going to probably want to answer my question, which is, what are the kind of things you traditionally really like? What are some recent shows? What are some classic shows, etc.? Anyway.
That's why you were one of the top salesmen in all of Bo's retail stores, though, too, is because you actually care about the thing you're talking about, in this case, movies or TV shows. And you genuinely like trying to help people find their way to something that they'll enjoy. So a good salesman is just going to ask a lot of questions first. And that's what you're suggesting.
Well, sure. Yeah. What I'm saying, though, shouldn't require any qualifications. It should be common sense.
Yes.
You should need to be selling for 20 years to be able to do what I'm recommending.
As to the point, too, for the like has been mentioned before, the original poster should also see that, right? And then give some more information right away. So you tell them, like Dylan had said, I have watched this and this. What should I watch next? Don't just say, hey, spit out movies at me.
Yeah.
And so I feel like next time you see somebody on the Facebooks and the Insta Twitters, ask for just a blanket statement of movie recommendations. What you should do is recommend this episode of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
So you should do.
Check out episode 59, specifically around the 40-minute mark.
Yeah, that'll show them.
Yeah.
Because that's what I imagine. I imagine those 40 comments. I just imagine somebody going, "Scandal!"
Yes. Yeah, that's what's happening. And there's walls. You just get walls of no commas, no like, check out this show, and you might like this one. It's like they took a list off a website and copied and pasted it with no punctuation. And the website was old and didn't have any capitals or lowercase. It's just all lowercase. And there's just a wall of text.
Do you know the regular?
those-
Sorry, Kendall.
Those I was just going to comment on the like lack of punctuation and grammar, and then you like sometimes like I usually don't call people out on it when it's that bad. Like I don't want to be a jerk. I want to call it out on somebody that I kind of know and they just like made a mistake, and then I make fun of them for it.
Yeah.
But that way we're both laughing at it. But but sometimes some of those it's like no, it's like I legitimately don't know what you're trying to say. Like I don't know what you're trying to say because you're bad at this. And then then if you do, because then somebody always makes a comment, and then they all have the same excuse of, well, I use type to text. And I have two things. I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think that's the case. No, you're just trying to cover up now. And second of all, if that's true, stop it.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Stop doing type to text or talk to text. Stop doing that.
Yeah. I love that Kester took the Pandora's box key and just barely turned it, and it creaked open, and then Dylan and Kendall just shot it at the box. Just in
You thought Dylan was angry, or thought Kester was angry.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody comments like, any good TV or show or TV or movie recommendations? You know what I picture? You know the average citizen fish on SpongeBob, how their eyes go opposite directions?
Yeah.
I just imagine those people going, Teen Mom!
Yeah. That's what happens.
Cops! They're just
Or
shouting.
without punctuation, it's the Mandalorian scandal.
It's just a Pavlovian response.
The Mandalorian scandal teen mom.
Yeah. I haven't heard of that show.
Oh,
Anyways, thanks, Jeremy.
that's funny. All right. Man, we really touched on something when we were talking about tipping etiquette in episode 53. Same episode as the blind entertainment recommendations. So Kester has a voice message about that.
Dylan, the question was, do you tip on carry out? And I've got to be super honest with you. I have no ethic there. Like, it completely is whether or not I have a dollar in my pocket. If I have a dollar, like a sweaty, crumpled up dollar in my pocket, then they get
I
it.
have to be
But
sweaty.
that's true of like the kid who opens the door for my wife too. There's zero good reasoning behind it. It's just I want to get this dollar out, and I want the feeling of feeling like I did a nice thing. But I tend to be a generous tipper for sit downs. But you're right, I've literally never thought about that.
Yeah, and we got a lot of feedback. I think that people do like 10, 20% during the coronas, especially. Yeah, I mean, I think we've laid out our thoughts on that one. And I think I was with Jeremy. Like, in my mind, if I'm doing all the work to go in, get it out, nothing extra was required. I'm paying the cost of the food includes the labor and the goods and the whatever. But I think there's a lot of generous people that have said 10 to 20% even on carry out. And it's probably good, especially now and for a while, to take care of folks. So I definitely appreciate a lot of the feedback that we got.
Yeah, Kester, nobody wants your sweaty COVID dollar. So
Nobody.
Yeah. It brings up an interesting topic for me because like I don't want this to sound because I'm not the person who's like I'm not super worried about like this is how they're doing it in Europe. Like I don't care. I'm not in Europe. I want ice in my drink. All right, that's the way it is. However, I don't like the tipping economy, and I wish that it wasn't so. I wish that we were more like Europe in that regard. Yeah, you don't tip. You pay what the price is, and they're paying their employees. And but this tipping economy, man, is just so jacked up. And so there's a part of me that like, so I do tend to tip, and I don't tip as much on carryout. So like sit down, I do like here's my minimum or percentage, right? Whichever's higher. When I do carryout, I just do the minimum period. But I don't know why I do it that way. It just feels good, I suppose. But I wish people wouldn't follow that example. And I don't because I don't want the industry to go further in that direction. I don't want it to become now a necessity that you have to tip on carryout, because then that's even less people that they're going to pay because they're getting tipped now all the time. Yeah. And then, you know, our culture is going to be like, make sure you're tipping on those carryout orders because they're not getting paid otherwise. And like, I want it to go the other direction. I want it to go the other way, not that way.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Which brings up another one that we don't have to talk about right now, but the thing that I would want changed before tipping is I want the product to include the price of tax. People from other countries come here and they're all thrown off by like sales tax on things, and they think it's $19.99 and they have $20, and then they go to pay and it's $23 or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they're all messed up by that. I agree. I wish we could just include the price of tax and things, and then use round off and just round things off to like the nearest quarter or 50 cents and just include tax and be done with it. And then you could get rid of a lot of little change that you wouldn't need for things. But yeah, just if something's, and you have to factor that in, right? So you don't just add $5 to everything to make it round up for tax. Some things, you know, you might round down on, other things you might round up on. You know, you make your kind of merchandise balance out. But that's one I wish we would change.
Yeah. Well, we have computers, right? So they can figure that out.
Yeah.
I mean, retailers know how much they're going to be paying in taxes based on what their inventory is.
It's based on where it's located. If you're in Columbus, Ohio, you're going to have a 7.5% sales tax on everything that goes out your door.
Right. No, my point is the retailer is who is receiving that money at first. Mm-hmm. And then the retailer cuts a check, is the way that works. So in other words, what I'm saying is like the individual, it's not hard to figure out the price, the final price. It just isn't. The retailer already knows what the final price should be.
Yeah.
Tax included.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So just start doing that.
Yeah.
Just start telling us. I'm with you. I am 100% with you.
Yeah.
I still want ice in my drinks though.
Yeah.
And I want my beer cold.
That is 100% a thing. The rest of the world needs to catch up with America.
And speaking of ketchup on the fries, ketchup.
Yeah.
So there's a few things that I won't give up, but
fair.
I'll give up tipping, and
I'll give up more.
Dylan already gave up tipping. At least on carryout.
And Kester, unless he has a sweaty dollar.
All right. So Dylan shared a comical story in episode 54 about inevitably when he's trying to be quiet, he's louder. And we have 2 voice messages about that. And they're not from Jeremy Kester.
And we got a tweet.
Oh, we got a tweet about that one?
Ooh. Yeah, we got a tweet about that one too.
All right. So let's play the first one from Midler Jenna.
Hey guys, it's Jenna. Just listening to episode 54, and Dylan was talking about in his efforts to be quieter, actually being louder on accident. And I can relate. I actually have a story from just this week. I'm a student, so I was on a clinical rotation, and I needed to leave at the end of the day. My commute home is usually like an hour and a half. I was getting late in the day, and she had told me that I could go when I needed to, but we were still with a client, and I had a house guest, so I needed to go. I was embarrassed. I didn't want to have to ask to leave early when we were still with someone, and so I was trying to sneak out quietly, grab all my things, and of course I ended up knocking over a huge stack of papers and filing, and being way louder and way more disruptive.
Mm-hmm. She Urkeled it. That's what that's called.
You gone done Urkeled it.
Yep.
Let's listen to
Did
Drew.
I do that? Yes, you did.
Let's listen to Drew's, and then Dylan, you can share that tweet.
Hey, gentlemen, how are you? Drew, listening
Good,
yet
Drew. How
again.
are you?
I'm all caught up now, listening to your last one. And Dylan, I would like to share in your ability to make more noise when trying to be quiet. Other than hunting, when I'm out in the woods, I do a pretty good job there. But at home, the stairs seem to creak a little bit more. The cabinet doors are much louder. So I share your ability to disappoint others when trying to be quiet. So enjoy, fellas. Keep on keeping on. See you.
Yeah, and it's infuriating. And at least for Jenna and Drew, you guys can relate to it's infuriating. I don't know what happens. And our friends at Grief Burrito podcast.
Hey, Grief Burrito!
Sounds delicious
I love
just-
those
and
guys.
sad. It's sad and delicious.
And Burrito together. Our friends across the pond out of the UK, Grief Burrito. I got a tweet from them after that episode that says, @from the mid pod, I am also the loud quieter. With a gif of Kevin Malone spilling the pot of chili from The Office. And I'm going to guess that that was my friend at Grief Burrito, Harrison Wild. So if you're into gaming or British accents, follow Grief Burrito, and you can listen to them talk about video games. They're on Twitch as well. You can go check them out there. So, yes, thank you for the Office gift. They just keep on giving.
Mm-hmm.
And they like their lukewarm beer over there. So
It's
And calling everything boys, BOIS.
but you know what? I hear that there's like that they eat mashed potatoes like all the time. So
Yeah.
So I'm down with that. I'll eat out. Yeah. Sure.
So shout out to Grief Burrito. Thanks for the tweet, guys.
Mhm. Yeah. Send us some mashed potatoes.
in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts on being loud, quiet?
I don't. It's just
Okay.
creating. I don't. You just have to try to. You just have to try to be normal in all situations, and then you won't make more noise because you know the alternative is I'm going to be noisier. So just own it, make the normal amount of noise, and move on.
Is it that, or is it just like hypercognizance?
No, that's not what it feels like on the inside.
That's it.
You don't have feelings on the inside. We've established
Robots can't cry.
When it
Don't
comes to
laugh
this and Taco Bell, I
Die.
and I feel it in my bones. I just want you to know.
your robot bones.
Yeah, my robot.
Watch his eyes flitter
I oughta make
slow
them-
like the batteries are dying.
I have nothing else.
Space robot fire. I have a song for every occasion, fellas.
Great.
I know more than one song is about robots.
Oh,
It's one of the reasons we love you.
it's nice.
Well, one of us loves you. The other one beeps you.
That-
Sounded bad.
it's not
All
bad.
right. Our final voice message of the evening comes from, again, Midler and cousin of Dylan and I's Jenna.
Hey guys, it's Jenna. I'm listening to episode of Lily's Questions, and Corey mentioned that nobody cares about Glee anymore. And the show Glee, I am watching it right now, actually, rewatching it. I kind of watched it when I was a kid, but also I was a little young to watch a show like that. So I'm really taking it all in now, and I think I'm in the third season. But I just wanted Corey to know that if Dylan and Kendall won't let him talk about it in an episode, that he can call me up and we can talk about the uncanny resemblances he has, because I'm very interested to hear what those would be. So have a good day, guys.
Look, if there's a lot of pent up demand to like gush about Glee and people want to do this, I'm game on. All right, game on. We'll have a Glee fest and we'll break down characters 15 years after it ended. I don't know how long it's been. If this is a thing people have signed up for, then great. We can talk about Glee. I watched it. That's fine.
You know, I didn't watch it, but I mean, I have some of my best friends were in show choir, and one of which has been a guest on this show. Actually, technically, there's been a few who have been guests on this show who I know are show choir people. Point is, there is a circle of middlers who are show choir folk. I was not in show choir. Like, I wasn't singing and dancing. I was in the combo, right? So I was playing music for the show choir, which, at the time I thought made me cooler.
Was it combo number 5?
That is. No. But anyway.
So you saying there's an audience for this story?
I don't know that there's an audience for Glee, but there's an audience for Corey.
Here's what happened. Jenna was on Facebook and asked for a TV show recommendation, and someone went, Glee! With their eyes pointed in opposite directions. And she's like, okay, well, let's give it a shot.
Yeah. I can. That's what I'm saying. If people are up for this,
it's a short story. I'll just tell you. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm in show choir. Dylan was in show choir.
Yeah.
We find out that there's going to be a TV show on Fox about show choir.
Right.
Based on the town of Lima, Ohio, which is miles from where we're in show choir.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'll give this show a shot. First season, a character, Finn Hudson, is conflicted or teased by 2 camps in his life. He's a football player, but he's also in the show choir. So his football buddies are making fun of him that he's in the show choir, and his show choir buddies are making fun of him that he's trying to live up to these jock expectations by being in football when he doesn't really love it. I was in baseball and football, made fun of playfully, not seriously. I wasn't hazed or anything, by guys that were making fun of me because I had to leave early to go to show choir practice. And people in show choir were like, you're much better at singing than you are at sports. Why do you keep pretending to like those things? Just stay with us Glee people, right? So I'm watching this show where Finn Hudson is facing those, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty crazy. But you could say any character, he's torn, he's got these 2 sides of him, blah, 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 fine, whatever, right?
Sounds a little John Edwards-y to, yeah, anyway.
The point where I go, okay, wait a minute, is when I had a solo in the song, the Bon Jovi song, It's My Life. It was popular in the early 2000s, and I had a solo in that song where I wore a pleather jacket and pleather pants. Finn Hudson, in an episode of Glee, pulls down the microphone and starts singing It's My Life with a leather jacket on. And I'm going, wait a minute. This feels pretty real. The place where they would hang out in the show is an actual place in Lima, a coffee shop where our sister worked. Now, I'm not saying that they sent a research team to some of our competitions, and I'm not saying that they went.
But I think we all agree that you should get a check of some kind.
What I'm saying is it's a little uncanny. Now, years later, while I was in college, I would audition for the show. I actually auditioned for Glee in Lima because as a sort of like, hey, we've used your town as the basis for much of our stories. We're going to do a nationwide search for a couple new characters. This was later in its life. And one of the towns they had to hit up was Lima. And I was like, well, it's only an 1.5-hour drive to go back home to audition. I'll go back. Obviously, it didn't work out, but I did audition for the show.
And Corey has agreed that when we get to 10,000 listens, he's going to recreate that audition for YouTube for us.
Don't say that because we're only like 50 listens away from that.
It's going to be our first Patreon content, and Kendall's fucked.
But he doesn't pay for those things.
He is this time.
Anyway, I just thought it was kind of weird to watch that. And like, did you not feel a little bit that way, Dylan? And even when you watched it, that this is based in Lima, it's about show choir, it's all the small town sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's where the similarities ended because none of them looked or sounded like me. I didn't sing that well, and all of them were like attractive mid-20-year-olds that were made to look like 14-year-olds. And I wasn't a 14-year-old who looked like a 25-year-old. I was a 14-year-old who looked like a 12-year-old.
Mm.
And
Anyway.
didn't sing that great. So no.
You sing wonderfully, Dylan.
And so that wasn't, no, I didn't see reality in that show. I liked the music. There were good covers. I related to the show choir thing, and I watched the series because I related to it. And most of the second half wasn't that great, but I kept watching because I had watched that far. I did enjoy the show. There was a long period of using iTunes gift cards to like buy the best singles from that show because there were some genuinely good covers of some of the songs. Even a guy I used to work with that would get kind of annoyed when they would cover some of the classic rock songs because he was a huge rock fan. Sometimes he would listen to some of those tracks and go, man, those instrumentals are like perfect to like the original. And even the voice is pretty good. Like they found somebody who matched the genre well. So like there were enjoyable covers of a lot of the songs.
So did you not see your brother in Glee? Did you miss that?
The real Glee? I don't know what we're talking about anymore.
Yeah.
Like, are you saying I didn't?
Did you ever find yourself? Did you independently, at least maybe, watch Glee and think to yourself, you know what? That's Corey.
He probably told me that before I thought it, and so then I went, yeah, okay. He's already said I'm Finn, and so I went, yeah, okay, yeah. There's some parallels to Finn, sure.
Oh. Finn is a big doofus too in the show, and he's just, yeah.
Which of the characters would have been best described as background vanilla? That would have been the character that I would have related to. They were in every fourth episode. They never had a solo. They didn't dance. They weren't like the kids.
Solos.
The one kid who could dance really well. I don't know what.
You had
whatever that one would have been.
Anyway, I never finished the show. Actually, I still need to catch up.
You can watch along with Jenna. She's in season 3.
I know. So, Jenna, maybe we'll have a watch party and you can watch more episodes about me.
I don't know if my buddy Eric listens, but I used to work with a guy, Eric, and we would backlog a couple episodes on his DVR and go watch them cranked up on surround sound because it felt like, if nothing else, we're watching a music show cranked on surround sound, and that's the way to enjoy it.
Dude, that and like buying singles, buying soundtracks to that, buying soundtracks to musicals, and it's such a show choir kid thing to do.
Yeah,
I don't know. I say that as somebody who's like, the Rent soundtrack is one of my favorite albums ever, but
they so perfectly captured this idea. It's kind of like how Friday Night Lights did such a great job of showing what it was like when you live in Texas and it's all about Friday night high school football. Like, they really did a good job at that show of the parents who live vicariously, the stage moms who live vicariously through their kids. And show choir in some schools is made fun of and teased, and show choir in other schools is a big deal. And like the competitions and going to New York City, and like the parents get into it. There's a whole culture around it, and the road trips that you take, and you do bond. And so it does articulate well for those people that are, and people joke that Lima is an acronym for Lost in Middle America. I won't say whether or not I agree with that, but that for those places, that is much of what is entertaining for not just the kids that are involved, but the families. And hey, let's go to a show choir competition this weekend. Like, it's a big deal when there's not much else going on.
Sure.
And you suck at sports. So anyway, that's the Glee story. You're welcome, Jenna. I'm sure there were many other things that at the time when I cared more about this that I could have told you were correlations, but I mostly let it go. I don't demand royalties anymore. Anything else, guys? This has been a mixed bag episode, but it's always fun hanging out with you.
I'm good. We covered it all.
Awesome. Well, guys, here's a few calls to action. One, you need to follow us on social media, subscribe on YouTube, join our Facebook page, From the Middle for the Middlers. Check out my buddy Steve over at Lifeline. We will post the link to that. I know he would love your support, and just send him an encouraging word. What else did we talk about?
And if you're into gaming,
Oh, yeah.
British people talk, check out our friendly boys over at Grief Burrito.
Grief Burrito. And if you want to join us as we participate in the streams from San Diego Comic-Con this week, join us in that. We'll probably talk about it next week. Episodes launch every Wednesday morning. They will be in your inbox, your Apple Podcast inbox. It's been fun hanging out, and we will see you guys on the flippity flip, flipper, flop.